Yes.
Can you hear me okay? Everybody hear me okay? I don't want to be too loud. We're good. Good evening and welcome everyone. Thanks for coming out. At this time, I'd like to begin the meeting with the roll call from here.
Here.
Great. For those who have a public comment tonight and haven't signed the sheet, we have a sheet up front here that you can come up and sign, and we'll give you 3 minutes to hear your concerns and everything. Anybody need to come up now? If not, we'll move forward. I'm going to call, I want to say this first of all. I am grateful for where the town of Ayden is and where the town of Ayden is going to go. And for the people who have the heart of the town of Ayden. There is not anything that we cannot do once we work together. Some might say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, we first need to decide to work together. That's how the working together piece work. And I'm seeing a lot of positive things in our town. I'm not bragging off of Ayden or anything like that, or its citizens. But we have a lot going on, and as long as we strive to move forward with respect for one another and hearing each other's concerns, treating one another like we want to be treated, there's nothing that we can accomplish. As I said the other night, certain towns around our sides across the state are taking a look at us. And at this time, I would say that we're leading as far as the example of what a small town should be. At this time, I would like to call Bishop Williams up to do the invocation, if you would, please, sir.
Yes. Shall we pray? Turn God, Father, that only come now in the humblest matter, that we know how to say thank you for how you brought us and how you keep us. We ask you to continue to lead, guide, and protect us. Help us to be able, God, to be what you will have us to be in the last and evil day. We realize that in this world we have trials and tribulation, but in you, God, we will have peace. We thank you for this town. We thank you for the officers of this town. We thank you for all that you have gave us here. Now we ask that you continue to lead and guide us. Help us to be what you will have us to be. God, remember those that are less fortunate than we are, unable to get around, unable to have a place to sleep, unable to have transportation. We pray, God, that you will bless them anyway. We thank you now and we praise you for what you're going to do and the way you're going to do it. Hold the sick and suffering in your hand, the careless and unconcerned. Help them also. This way I say in the name of the Father, Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Christ's name, our Redeemer, we do pray and we say, amen.
Amen.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow. Are there any comments or revisions to the agenda? None? Yes, ma'am?
Commissioner Leo wanted to add items for discussion about the NC
Need a motion and a second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lewis, second by Commissioner Khan, excuse me. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. As you know, we're missing a member tonight. Mayor Pro Tem Langley is out, so put up a prayer if you would for him. There's something going around in our town, and we'll just pray for everybody to come through. But please throw out a prayer if you would for him. At this time, I would like to open up the public comment section. Anyone wants to make public comments, feel free to come up. If not, we will move. Anybody, anyone?
Yeah, she's.
Okay. Thank you. It seemed like you did come up. Mr. Allen, I'm so sorry. I'm imperfect. I'm so sorry. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I come today, moving back to Ayden in February of 2024. And the reason I come tonight is because of the recent changes that happened towards the end of 2024 with the utility billing cycles. At that time, when there was those changes, I happened to be one of the customers that was kind of impacted by the deposit policy change. And with that, I do understand that I have had late fees and I've had disconnections. But at this point, I've been told that I'm not going to see my deposit until I were to move, move pretty much, and that's about it. And so I don't feel like it's fair or just to hold me to another policy that I haven't even signed or agreed to. So just kind of wanted to table that, I suppose.
And so you have any further comments regarding this issue?
I mean, it was one of those things where, you know, is it just to change someone's terms of agreement after they have signed off on specific terms? You know, Martin Luther King Jr. once said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So suppose I provided services to the town and after we agreed to terms, I changed our deposit structure. Is that something the town would be fine with? And it just...
I got you. Okay, well, what we'll do, sir, is management will take a look at everything. It's being recorded, and we will get back with you anytime in a reasonable time. Thank you for your concern, sir.
Can you state your name and your address, please?
Yes, it's Timothy Alligood, and it's 426 Dad Little Road, Unit A, Ayden, NZ 28513.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Mr. Mike, is that A-N-G-L-E-N?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. If you would, please.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. This is my wife, Brittany. We just really kind of wanted to introduce ourselves. We're the new owners of the Doghouse Tavern. And we've been working on it since the end of December. And we're looking to hopefully open back up in March. And a couple things, you know, we just had a wonderful welcome of the people and the community. And anyways, it's been a real pleasure. And so we're happy to, you know, be an established business and, you know, kind of get back to, you know, our version of serving the public for that. And one thing that we did want to mention is that there was a previous extension of premises that just took up the back parking lot that we kind of roped off for some warmer weather, and we would just like to continue that if that would still be able to be, you know, approved, maybe without going through everything. But any something? No? Okay.
So, do you all have any more concerns regarding this issue? Is that about it?
That's about it, sir.
We want to say what you want to say.
Yes.
Very good. Thanks for coming up.
All right.
We will-
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. We will look into that. Next up, the Honorable Mayor, still Mayor in my eyesight, Stephen Tripp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners and Town Manager. I'm Steve Tripp, 4239 Pinewood Drive. I want to first say appreciate the email from the manager stating the commitment of the board in resurfacing paving Pinewood Drive this spring. I would like to remind the board and administration of the intersection of Stanfield Street and Pinewood, the north intersection, of the excessive water collection after rain event due to the inappropriate paving connection of Pinewood Drive from the Stanfield Street. 15 months ago, at a board meeting, the engineer indicated that the contractor for the subdivision would fix it. It's not fixed. I would recommend that that issue at this intersection should be addressed before or at the time of paving to get the water excess out of the street of the intersection. Several years ago, the Board of Commissioners, Planning Board, marched to downtown, and the public approved the Vision 2025 and 2030 downtown plan. One section of the plan, beautification of downtown, recommended planting trees in the downtown area. Under the guidance of the arborist and the merchant, the trees were placed in a strategic location downtown. I understand the safety concern with the borders at the base of the tree and the size of the tree have become an issue. A resolution could have been replace the borders with a flat metal grid and trim the trees on a routine basis instead of cut the trees down. The downtown today looks like it did back in 2003. Bare, vacant, and lifeless, especially at Christmas. I would recommend the town consider and put the trees back in their strategic location in downtown area, or install decorative lights, or put some type of light fixture to make the town that beautiful according to the mission of those vision plans by citizens and public. The last time I spoke to this board was May 13th. I asked the board to be mindful of the property tax. I stated, by remaining at the current tax rate, the taxes will increase by 54% to the citizens of Ayden. I stated, revenue is needed, but the board needs to be mindful not to prohibit growth. I agree with the tax increase to address concerns of the local government commission, but not at 54%. 54% increase is too much to put on the backs of our senior citizens and business. My mother's tax bill increased by 7% as compared to the previous year. I encourage the board during the budget process to reduce expenditures and reduce the tax rate to our citizens. The tax, electrical, and sewer rates need to be competitive to the market. With the growth in housing market, the revenue will generate over a short period of time to address the expenditures concerns if you let the town grow. Note, the current tax rate can result in little or no economic growth. You can tax yourself into growth by reducing tax, or you can tax yourself out of growth by increasing taxes. The town of Ayden, with the housing growth, residential growth, I hope the board at budget time take that in consideration and understand the future of the tax base will increase over the next 2 or 3 years to take care of the expenditures of this town. Thank you for what you do. I know it's a great service you give to the town, and we appreciate what you do. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay. All right, at this time, I'm gonna close the public comment section. Next up is presentation from Ms. Paula Lawson, if you would, please.
Good evening, my name is Paula Lofton. I am the current chair of the Ayden Art and Recreation Foundation. We are looking to give an update to the board on some of the wonderful things that are happening with the foundation. On our areas of focus, we've had continued meetings with our board, newly revived board. In those meetings, we've talked about community engagement, we've talked about park beautification projects, we are looking to do a needs assessment, partnerships with the town of Ayden and Pitt County, and fundraising and grant opportunities. When we look at the community engagement, we talk about what needs to be done to continue to help our community grow and to let citizens come and be a part of that growth. We want to do through efforts, be able to work toward getting the awareness out for what is needed in our town and what citizens want in our town. When we talk about park beautification, we look at one of the days of service that we just did on Martin Luther King holiday. We took a group of volunteers and we looked at the overgrown vegetation. If you look at the district park area, we were looking at hosting the disc golf tournament and on Founders Day. And on that area where the disc golf was, there was a lot of overgrowth, a lot of brush, and some of the course areas, particularly hole 4 and 5, were a little bit challenging to be able to see the baskets because of the overgrowth. And then when you try to navigate that course, it makes it really difficult. So then we looked at an opportunity for improvement. So our board worked to put a campaign together to celebrate what we consider a day of service. And we did that on Martin Luther King's holiday. And then we took volunteers from several areas to try and make the area playable again, make it safe, and make it appealing for everyone to look at. And when we looked at that, these are before pictures of this is number 4 hole. The overgrown brush is obstructing the view, and we could not use the easily play the holes. So then when we look at the area right here, you can see the ditch where the young trees and brush have grown up. And then we looked at this side is the other side of that ditch. Right in between there is where the disc golf people tried to throw, and it's kind of obstructed. So then when we looked at volunteers, we had our board members certainly were out there. We had Ayden-Grifton Interact Club members volunteer, the Ayden-Grifton High School football team. We partnered with East Carolina University's AmeriCorps group, and even members of the Greenville Disc Golf Club were there to work with us. The volunteer efforts were 100% manned by those people. The event was held, like I said, on Martin Luther King holiday, and the tools and supplies were brought in by those volunteers. They brought their own tools, and the board put together an effort to get needed needed supplies, trash bags, safety goggles, gloves, and things of that nature to help. When you look at some of these pictures, these are some of our volunteers putting stuff together, cleaning and getting the ditches clean and breaking down the kids, I'm sorry, it's funny. So, but they were working really hard at getting that done. And then if you go to the next one. So when we looked at it, we had over 40 volunteers. That included a majority of them were high school students on a holiday, out there cleaning and volunteering their time. And because of these volunteers, we were able to showcase our park on a higher level and host this district tournament. And we hope that that is a continuum for our town, because we know when we host things in our town, people visit our towns, see all the wonderful things that we have in our towns, and continue to come back and visit our towns. This is what it looked like afterwards. There's still work to be done, but you can see the improvement in those areas. It's playable, it's clean, and it's aesthetically pleasing to the people. And this was the hole that they could see now to hit the basket. I don't play disc golf, but I help them out because I know that I'm going to need help at some point, and I want them to be able to come back. So then we go to the next one. So this is the group of volunteers. If you look, that's part of the mound of debris that we collected. It took us just over 5 hours to clean that area, and so we were really excited to be able to do that. This is our high school Interact Club. This is the second year of our Interact Club, and we have 15 members. 14 of them were there that day, and they continue to be engaged and involved. I would like to note that these young people all showed up to the Ayden board meeting for the foundation to see how a board operates, and they were engaged and motivated to do that, so they partnered with us as a result of that field trip with us. When we look at our continuing efforts, we're going to continue to look for a needs assessment to identify what's needed. It's not just the district part, it's not just Veterans Park, it's the art program, it's community programs that our older people and our younger people can do. It needs to be everybody involved. And then when we look at continued partnerships, we are glad that we can foster strong partnerships with our town board here and our Pitt County members. We want to look at collaborative projects that will engage both the town and Pitt County with our board, so we can continue to look at cultural initiatives and recreational facility enhancements. We do have fundraising ideas. We are still working to obtain our 501c3 with the IRS. That's taking a little longer than I want it to, but we continue to work with them as well. We're looking at fundraising opportunities and community donations. There's a variety of options that we have on the table, but we want to make sure that we do it deliberately so that it is successful. We want to thank you for your time and attention. I welcome any questions.
I have a comment. Thank you, first of all, and your team for all of your efforts. Is much needed. Now, how you pulled it off and got all those people to work together, I don't know, but you pulled it off. And I'm extremely impressed with what you did. And if you would, please pass that along to the team. That's great stuff. That's what it's about. That's what Ayden's about. Someone else may have some comments or questions, but
We had a meeting on the Sunday several weeks before. I think the meeting was at 3 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
You called me, you were running behind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just as busy as everybody else.
Absolutely.
So just going forward, if we make a meeting, because I changed my whole plan that we can for that meeting.
Right.
The process of me going out there was, I had a man that has the equipment to cut these fairways 30 feet up high and wide. That's why I was there. He was going to volunteer his equipment and his life to do that for us. And that's why I wanted to meet and see what was going on. I appreciate what you're doing and the volunteers, and I do want to work with you guys. That is what I do, vegetation management, and I like connection. And there's other things we can do to hold this vegetation for 7, 8 years. We never have to cut it again. So if you would like to collaborate with me again at a certain time, we need to ride through it and look at it, and then go from there. And I can do as much in 3 hours as 50 people can do in a week. So that would be where I get my recommendations for getting that part.
Okay.
good. Good stuff.
Just a quick question. When are you all going to be meeting again, and is that an open meeting?
Yes, so we meet on the second Tuesday of every month. We post the meetings on Facebook, we email all of the board members. I know the mayor or designee is invited, and I think Tommy is also on that board. But we try to make sure that we give enough notice that everybody knows about that meeting. I'll be happy to send you the calendar. I'll send it to the whole board. Mhm.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
Good evening. Tonight you have before you a voluntary annexation petition. This is the final step in this process. We did receive the petition requesting voluntary annexation. It was submitted by Colonial Acres Farm. Total acreage included is 41.09, and this is located, this will be the site of Creekwood subdivision, formerly located place, but this is located along NC 102, as you head out of town to the east, when you cross the creek on the left-hand side. At your last meeting, the town clerk did provide you with a certificate of sufficiency, and you did adopt a resolution setting a public hearing for tonight. So that's the action we're requesting, is to conduct a public hearing and vote to approve the annexation ordinance for this property. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments from Mr. Smith? motion by Commissioner Newell, second by Commissioner Khan. Any discussions? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. The motion would be to, that we approve the annexation of the Creekwood subdivision and that we adopt the annexation ordinance. You good with that, Mr. Smith? Okay, thank you, sir. All right. Now, the consent agenda, need there be any discussion regarding the consent agenda? If not, I'm gonna need a motion to approve. Motion made by Commissioner Sidney Goff, second by Commissioner Davis. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. If you agree. Motion carries. Thank you all. Action item. Okay. All right, there, let me one back to you. Just sit up. I'm not feeling that well myself. What is it? Okay. All right. Excuse me. Next item is the action items, letter of commendation from Miss May. Where? Catherine May. Yeah, where's the list? Okay. I'll brief you all. Is anybody from Mrs. May family here tonight? Miss Catherine May? Okay. Thank you so much. The letter of commendation says, I think I can get through this pretty briefly. On behalf of the town of Ayden Governing Board, we want to honor Mrs. May, and based on her dedication to her family as evidence and the 25 foster children that she has dealt with on a continuous basis. She's a pillar of the community who normally goes above and beyond to uplift those in need, and her life really is a powerful example of strength, honor, and faith. I do know Mrs. May, I think, I don't like to give away ladies' ages, but she's probably a grandmother to most of us in this town. And she's the type of lady, she don't care what you look like, where you come from. She has a motherly love for you, and she loves the town of Ayden. She has impacted our community greatly. And so what I'm gonna need to do is to get a motion and a second for Mrs. May so that we can move along and make sure that the letter of commendation gets in her hands. I need a motion and a second.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Newell, second by Commissioner Connor. Any discussion, further discussion? No further discussions. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Okay, motion carries. Okay, there she is. Hey, Marcia.
Okay, so I'm coming to you tonight to discuss the PCA. Back in the budget of April and May, I remember Rick, Moss came from Electric Cities to discuss the wholesale, the rider situation from rider, 22 and then the rider 23. At the time of budget, we only had rider 122, the amount that the town had to pay back. That amount was $781,749, which we implemented a PCA based off their recommendation, which is working. That PCA power cost adjustment was $4. Well, it is $4.14 per 1,000 kilowatt. And at the time, he did tell us that there was another rider coming in the fall of 24, but at the time they did not have the exact amount. We do have the exact amount. That amount that we owe is $686,000. take approximately about 24 months to pay it off completely. So we already put the PCA in place, knowing that Rider 123 would be coming. And so I'm asking you to adjust the PCA to just what we owe back to Electric Cities and Duke Energy. This is based off Duke Energy overshooting their estimates for the propane natural gas market, and due to our contract with them, any rider that we owe, we have to pay back.
Any questions for Mrs. Hall, any comments for her?
I just want to be sure I understand it clear. The total would be $6.03, not additional.
Yes, ma'am. That it would not be additional, it would just go from the $4.14 to $6.03.
Any other questions? Commissioner Goff, Commissioner Newell, Commissioner Davis? No questions. Any other comments, Ms. Hall?
No, sir, not about the PCA.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the information that's presented. Motion and a second for that. Lou? Motion by, Commissioner Coach. Commissioner Davis, second by, Commissioner Goff, you do that? Second by Commissioner Goff. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Okay. You can continue at your own,
Under next,
yeah. When you get
They're
ready.
rushed.
Yeah.
I wanna make sure I've got my stuff ready for
Take
y'all.
your time, take your time.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I think one of the board members requested to discuss this tonight, and I just wanted to make sure, if there was something in particular you wanted me to cover, or if you just wanted me to give you like a brief overview about the deposits.
I did talk to him today. I could barely understand him, but he would wanted the board, if we could, to table it till he got here,
Okay,
because if that's okay with you,
absolutely.
if it's okay with the board, so we'll need a motion. You have some comments?
Is there any way we can get a list of any fee, charge, disconnect, water connect, water, sewer, utility company? So we can go and see the charges that are implemented, other than like the bill itself, so we would disconnect, so.
It's our fee schedule, which is in our approved ordinance on the website, but I can send that out to you.
I would be great if you just sent it to me directly.
Absolutely. Did you want to discuss anything tonight so you can think about it before the next meeting?
Motion by Commissioner, Brad Newell, and, second by Commissioner Connor. Any discussion whatsoever? No discussion. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. The motion, as you know, will be to table it to the next meeting. Thank you, Mrs. Hall. Yes, ma'am, please.
To Martha, I did look over that email, and, a lot of the information that you sent was pretty concise and pretty clear. So by tabling this, I think it'll give us all an opportunity to really get it. So thank you. You're welcome.
All right. Mr. Duncan, if you would, please.
Good evening. Up here to ask, if you could appoint Ms. Annette Harris to the Recreation Board. That would, give me 5 full-time members and 1 alternate member, which, like I said before, I will come back with some bylaw changes. It's just, we hadn't had a meeting due to this, got us on our last meeting.
Hold on 1 second, Mr. Duncan. Okay, I'm gonna need a motion, if the board wants to approve Mrs. Annette Harris to serve on the Arts and Recreation Commission. Motion by Commissioner Connor, second by Commissioner Cobb. Any discussion? If none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Duncan.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If everybody were looking at the packet, page 127, review/approve the need for having insurance coverage when lessees are renting. If y'all recall, we pretty much nailed down the rental fees and all earlier, but then we would come back with some insurance suggestions, and we can do this 1 or 2 ways. On 127, about halfway down, you see these 7 questions that we as staff just need to see what y'all would like before we draft something, and we can go down question by question right now, or you can email me tomorrow, whatever input or suggestions you have, and then by consensus, I can draft something and get it back to you at the next meeting. So totally up to y'all. If you want to run through the 7 questions now and I kind of get your input, or y'all can email it to me tomorrow.
What's the pleasure of the board regarding the 7 questions?
Email it to you tomorrow.
Everybody in agreement? Okay. There it is, Mr. Duncan.
Thank you.
So, all right. Okay. All right. Voluntary Agriculture District, Mr. Commissioner.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
What kind of questions you talking about?
Like, for example, who decides the level of risk for events not defined by the policy? So in other words, we could write pretty much everything we think might happen, but some stuff is inherently more dangerous than other stuff, and I've got my ideas of what the coverage should be, but that they may or may not agree with your ideas. And so that's why I'm kind of wanting y'all's input, because I just don't want to throw a dart and I'll be way off base. Y'all's call, yeah.
Well, we won't.
Done.
Yeah, we've already moved on it and everything. Hold on. I'll say this, Mr. Manager. I read over this information, and if I recall correctly, the question I had was regarding nonprofits, primarily the church nonprofits. How do they fit into the scheme of this, or would
hearing from y'all, we've agreed to not charge them for actual renting, but I feel like and the previous policy, you know, that was approved that, about the renting, you know, they still have to pay a deposit, which they'll get back. But as far as the insurance coverage, I would recommend that they would be on the same playing field as anyone else, just because, you know, if somebody gets hurt or something, we're gonna get sued, and it's gonna be the same risk. So, but, that's y'all's call, but without any solicitation, that's how we draft it.
Okay, so, if they were to sign an agreement that, because a lot of churches, believe it or not, with people not attending church like they used to, a lot of churches are struggling. If they would accept the responsibility, if there were a liability, could we attack it from that standpoint?
We would either, in the policy, say that they're exempt and it would just be our coverage, or if we do treat them like everybody else, you need to provide a coverage commensurate to the risk. Like, for example, if they just had a meeting, no activity, no games, no bouncy houses, it would be a very low insurance policy, but we would still require them to get one. Now, if they were doing something like a race on the street, a fun run, anything like that, and this is kind of a hard call, but for example, if they were to cook food and serve food, which would be a great service, but as we know, you get 10 or 15 people with food poisoning, you got 10 or 15 claims, and that can reach in the millions pretty quick. And so, unless y'all advise me different, if they're gonna serve food or something, my recommendation would be to make them carry a higher amount of coverage, and on everybody name us as the additional secondary insured.
Mr. Terry, how do you feel about it?
I'm always going to recommend that you get coverage, proof of coverage from folks, just for that very reason that it would be potentially back on the town, and your exposure goes up significantly. And what we may consider a low risk event doesn't mean a major injury could happen or something big could happen. And so I think in exchange, if they're going to get fee waivers or different stuff, perhaps a lower insurance requirement with some kind of coverage, I think would be warranted. And I'd recommend the town get coverage of some kind anytime the town property is released from anybody.
Dollar wise, on the low end, for the low end coverage, what do you have any idea what it may cost a non-profit or a church to?
As far as the cost of a policy, that I don't know. That'd be worth investigating as part of the discussion.
Mr. Manager, could you get us some numbers on that?
Oh, I will. And from what I've heard secondhand, and I'll verify this, but my understanding is with some insurance companies that don't regularly do this, $1 million worth of coverage could be up to 500. But I believe the gentleman from the league gave us a name or two of certain carriers that specialize in this that can do it for quite a bit less. But yeah, I'll get you numbers on that.
Wow. I was wondering how that would impact the services that they're willing to offer. But you gotta, I guess, town has to be covered, we gotta be protected. That's interesting. That's interesting, very, very interesting. And I would recommend that, the board look over this, comb through it with a fine-tooth comb to see what we need to do. Because the manager's ready to move forward with it. That's my take on that. Any other comments? Yeah. All right. Mr. Newell. Yes, sir. You ready, sir? Yes, sir. All right. Voluntary Agricultural District, Mr. Brian Newell. You have the floor, sir.
Yes, sir. I've been approached by several farmers that have farms
Oh,
against the problem. So I've talked with several people that own farms at ETJ and around, and they have brought this to me, and I looked into it. I think it's a good idea for a town. Stephen, what would your input be?
Yeah, I think I can speak to the process. I had a discussion with the county manager when this first came up maybe a couple of months ago. Basically, if the town is interested, we could bring up an item to you. Basically, you have to adopt a resolution, and they've got sample resolutions. I think they do this in a couple of other small towns. Basically, you adopt a resolution, stating that you're willing to participate in that program, and then enter an interlocal agreement with the county, and basically they would run that program in the town. And again, I think the main component of that is preserving farmland and protecting that farmer. But yeah, again, it's completely voluntary program, so in order to participate, that farmer has to go through an application process, it's reviewed, they check all the criteria, they're looking, are you a true bona fide farm? You just can't say you're a farm, they go through and check, so they've got a process, but again, from a staffing standpoint, it would be minimal impact to our staff as far as, enforcement or participation. And again, we just take a resolution from the board, and entering into that interlocal agreement between, the town and the county.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Steve.
Commissioner Rule again. Rule on vehicle and
And vehicles.
So I've noticed this around town, also in yards and everywhere else. I know I had spoken with the chief reached out to me, and I think they're addressing it. But, it makes the town look bad when you see cars parked, flat tires, oil leaks on the curves. But I've noticed the ones that we talked about, chief, what you done, the stickers and all, so I guess that's in the process of being taken care of. Okay, thank you. That was it.
Good?
Yes, sir.
All right. Staff departmental reports. Is there any desire from the board? Chief, want to speak?
Tommy and the chief.
Tommy and the chief. All right.
Hey, man. Yeah, it's definitely about the park. Is that coming on?
I would think so.
Would they expect that now? Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah, that's right.
Hold on, chief. I'm sorry. My mistake. Commissioner Newell has one more. I missed it. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I so wish that the previous mayor had stayed. Believe me. A lot of people don't understand what we did with the tree process. Everybody loves trees, but a bad tree is not a good tree. So I did this process 20 years ago on a much larger scale. So we removed the trees. The trees were the wrong trees in the wrong location. They didn't have the infrastructure to support the trees, so they became hazardous and dangerous, and they were dying and they were terrible. So I looked into a process with North Carolina State Forestry Service. Got up with the actual harvester. They had a program to come out. It was an unmatched grant, so that means we pay up front, they pay us back. It was a $500,000 grant. If you ride down 3rd Street, there's trees on 3rd Street that are 30, 40 years old. They have what's called branch bark ridge. That's when the branches and the limbs compete against one another when they grow into one another. This makes the tree weak, susceptible to disease, they rot, they fall, widowmakers, they kill people. They're on state highways. State doesn't want to take them down, they don't want to spend money. Town doesn't have money to take them down. This is the first tree grant the state has come out with, which actually take trees down. So we had applied for this grant, talked with Scott, the mayor was behind me, the board, the Forestry Service. We had reached out to Main Street. We were in the process, and what I wanted to do, we would come down and take all the dead trees down. We would do a tree inventory. We would come back with a tree that's a native tree to North Carolina that would be recommended by the State Forestry Service. So when you have a town and you have a tree population, take trees down, then we would go out to the district park and we plant trees out there with native species, but in this process that would go back to our tree canopy. Then we would come out and on Earth Day, Tree Day, we have children from high school, middle school, elementary school come out. They would plant a grade for that year and then have a plaque, and we put the teacher's name on a class year. And that's what one of the requirements for our service is, the advertisement recommendation for what they do. So that process, unfortunately, it was a part of the Inflation Reduction Act. The grant was pulled, so they stopped our grant. But I believe we can go back for it in the 1st of July. Is that right, Mallory?
July 1.
July 1. So that gives us time to lay out a plan and get our stuff together. We do have an arborist, John Suggs. He grew up here too as well, between here and Grifton, and he's gonna step in and help us out a lot with that.
As you know, I've been in contact with Mideast. They're willing to do the grant, and we'll just have to provide them with some of the information. But they're set up to do the grant. It's such a big grant that they need to handle that end of it, but they're willing to do it and get on it as quick as possible.
Awesome. Thank you
That's
for
up
your help.
to you and the board and the town manager, obviously.
You're pretty much done. I want to say this. Well, I didn't say it in public. I want to say it in public here. I appreciate you, Commissioner Newell, and your expertise on this. I kind of feel like we have our own expert arborist here. He's been doing it for a long time, and I certainly think that if comments were published regarding the statements that the mayor made regarding this situation, those comments that Commissioner Newell made should be put forth as well. It's only fair. And a lot of times, I'm not condemning anyone for their position on anything, but a lot of times people come up here, and the way the process works, we can't go back and forth with them doing public comment. We're not allowed to do that. But I tell anybody to look at the full picture. Just don't take our side for anything. Take the whole picture. And I think this, what Commissioner Newell has done over the years, his experience and expertise speaks for itself. I don't know this stuff. That's not my wheelhouse, but it certainly is his. And his comments should be respected as such. So, Commissioner Newell, thanks again. And if I'm not mistaken, that ends your comments. Yes, sir. All right. Chief, if you would, please, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chief.
All right. After I submitted my board report for y'all for the month, Mayor Pro Tem Langley requested that manager have me give y'all a brief update on traffic calming issues that he brought up in the last meeting. So I was just going to do this tonight. For the month of January, the PD, we received a total of 1,009 call logs last month for January. We conducted a total of 285 traffic stops last month all throughout town. For the downtown area, we conducted 8 speed surveys between 3rd Street and Pitt Street. A total of 232 clocks were performed. The average speed was 24.19, 4-over speed limit, nothing out of the ordinary. We conducted 5 speed surveys on Lee Street between 3rd Street. The total, we did 100 clocks there. The average speed was 23.24, nothing out of the ordinary. And then we also did 2 on 2nd between Pitt Street, total 50 clocks, the average speed was 26.55. Not saying cars don't speed down 3rd Street. The numbers reflected it's not a major concern from what we've seen. We'll keep monitoring the area. And the last report, I looked, the last annual average daily traffic report, which DOT done was in 2022, and the area on 3rd Street west of Lee Street, the daily amount of travel, both directions of travel, there's 10,500 cars that travel on 3rd Street a day, which brings up, for 2024, the department, we investigated a total of 233 motor vehicle crashes. We only had 6 wrecks in the downtown area. Only one was speed at factor, which was the one that hit the building next to Mayor Pro Tem's building. And currently we have 7 radar operators, 2 LiDAR operators, and Officer Williams. The y'all met last month, he's scheduled to go to radar school in June. And keep in mind that the 3 officers that we do have, they're in field training, and so they're tied in with another officer, so there's less resources available. You know, there's not 3 officers patrolling, so you really have 2 in a car. So just give y'all a quick update of what we did, and we'll keep monitoring the area and see if there's any changes.
Any questions for the chief, comments? If not, chief, that info you have you submitted it to the board yet?
I will email it to y'all, after we get done. Like I said, this come after I had submitted my board report Monday.
Right.
So the managers told me just to make a presentation tonight, but I'll put an email.
Thank you so much. That's great. Appreciate it. No questions for the chief? Everybody good? All right. Do y'all desire any other? Oh, that's Tom. I'm sorry. I guess, okay. Go ahead, Mr.
I'm up here, y'all received the email this afternoon on our summer day camp program, and basically want your input on where we need to go, if we need to continue with the camp or pause it, you know, take a year off and reevaluate it, or you know, keep it going. I just kind of in the need to know, because I got to get staff hired if we're going to continue with it, or let people know that we're not going to.
Is that a question being addressed to us? Pretty
Yeah.
much. Okay, then I have a comment about it. Who was that? Anyone else want to go first, Coach? Recreation stuff that you want to comment anything? You have a comment? If not, I'll make a comment.
You said that, we're losing money with the summer camp, Tom.
With summer day camp, and when it started out in Avenue here, when I proposed doing it, Avenue was gonna lose money with it. I mean, it's always been a revenue loser, but we were providing a service for the citizens, for the working class citizens of Ayden, the ones that have a 9 to 5, they got to have childcare. Because that's basically what we are. I mean, we call it summer day camp, but it's childcare, you know, basically. And that's what we provide. It's just, here lately, the last 6 years, we've been, you know, somewhere between $7,000 to $8,000 a year losing, and I don't know the current budget, the way it is, general funds, the way it is, if we want to continue going that route. That's where I mean, I want to keep it going, but I know that, you know, we have other people here that, you know, finance and stuff, that it's expensive. I mean, it's costing the town money, and you can see from the thing that, you know, last year we had, it was 50-50 local and 50-50 non-residents. So, you know, you weigh that out.
So what the average age of the kids? 5, 6, 7?
Probably the average age is probably around 9 or 10. But we do have 5% for 6 to 12-year-olds. But I would say the average age is somewhere between 8, 9, 10.
My feeling is if we lose the money off it every year, we need to kind of like step back and take a look at the program. What, if there's anything we can do, will a grant cover it?
There's really not a grant, something like that.
I'll wait till y'all get done.
I've always worked with kids my whole life, you know, so, if we can't do it, we can't do it. If we're losing money from, I guess they may be losing money in a year or two, how long have they been, 5, 6 years?
Well, ever since it's been going on, we've been losing a little bit, but it's just getting more and more expensive. I mean, we can, you know, it's one thing we could do is look at the possibility of next year raising the fees. I mean, start raising the fees every year until we get, but to get it where it pay for itself, or get where we get money, it's gonna have to be at least $100 a week for residents.
Okay.
And that's provided we get, you know, the number of kids.
Let me say this, probably, the manager of the finance, Marcia, could probably help me with this. So we're not gonna do the barbecue festival? Again, where are we with that?
That would be a Stephen question.
Stephen,
as far as-
question? Are we still gonna have the barbecue festival?
Not this year.
So, how much, Mr. Manager or Mr. Finance Officer, how much would it be of a problem would it to be to move those funds? Because the kids, that's our future, and they need this outlet. Coach been doing all he could for all these years, but we need to do something. And I don't know how feasible it would be to move that money to just, even though we're losing, but we're gaining by putting what we put into them.
How much did we normally donate, Mallory, is it
It was a
5,000?
5,000 sponsorship done through downtown Main Street.
How much, sir?
5,000, and it is in the budget still. It's still in my budget. It's been done every year, so, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you're welcome. If the barbecue festival not gonna use it this year, you're welcome to move it out of my budget into wherever you need it.
Go ahead, Ms. Hall.
It's not as simple as moving it from
Yeah, I know, that's why I'm asking.
only because his budget's offset by your enterprise funds, so it's not a strictly moving straight over, and you can't have an enterprise fund supporting, a fund that is not supporting itself. So there's a little bit more than just,
So it wouldn't be feasible to do it?
you could do some of it, a partial of it, but not 100% of it.
I got my
What?
budget covered, but we set it up for it, but it's just the fact that we wanted to find out, I just wanted them to be aware.
Correct, and this was something that came about last, when we were discussing the budget last year, and when we were talking with Tommy, I was like, does the board know that your program, because I'm a working parent, so I have to do summer camps too, so it's not that, when he said finance, I said, no, I just feel like the board needs to know if you've got a program not breaking even in the sense of,
Right.
cost. And, it's the staffing, because you've got to have 10 to 1, it's the liability, if you have a kid in a pool, they drown. So the liability's on us, and, I'm an advocate for summer programs and camps, but I feel like you all should know where we stand with our programs, so.
So, is it possible for us to find that money somewhere?
Well, I mean,
Oh,
we have the money to run the
I know you
camp.
do, but we're going into I get that.
We just want to make sure that you're okay, that you know that, okay, the town more or less donating this money every year to this camp. Because we're gonna do it, we know we're gonna lose 10,000 calls per day. We just move on for it.
Okay.
I mean, I said my budget to run the camp this year, but
Right.
before I started the process, and before we go to budgeting next year, because she's gonna see it, and she's gonna say, Tom, you got 10,000, well, I know about it, but the board knows about it.
Right.
And, we know that we've gotten off. So, I mean, that's basically what I want to make sure y'all are good with us losing money on this camp. If y'all are, then we're ready to rock and roll.
Well, I am, I don't know how everyone else would, because those are our kids, man.
Motion.
You know.
Let's go.
Everybody, the board, Commissioner, no?
I think just the way Tommy put it is that we as a town, a board, a town, we're donating
Right,
this toward our children.
correct.
It's a donation for them, for the summer camps, and I don't have a problem with that. I think that's something, because, we need to show, support and care for our citizens and their children. It's a donation, it's not a loan.
Okay.
It's an investment.
Right, right.
It's an investment in our children.
Not me, that's, thank y'all.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy. That's good stuff. So we're good. The board is in agreement. We're on the same page. We're great. Any board comments? Madam Clerk, you good right there? Everything's good with you? Okay. Any board comments, Commissioner? Carl? If any, or-
The only comments would be, I think that tonight turned out to be a really good meeting for all of us. We got some good comments from the citizens that we can work with to make this town better. We need to know what's going on and what people are thinking and how they're feeling, so
Appreciate
Thank
you,
you.
Commissioner. Coach?
I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. And, more than anything else, having a good short meeting.
Commissioner No.
So we talk on the phone a lot. I talk with the mayor all the time. So you don't see all that we're doing. We're trying to, they approved me to go to a Main Street conference in March. I have some personal contacts that I know that are involved in large chain restaurants, reaching out to chain convenience stores. So there are different avenues we're going and trying to bring stuff to the town of Ayden. Just because you don't hear about it don't mean we're working on stuff. And there's some stuff I'm hoping is going to work out. I'm not going to say anything about it. If it does, I think it'll be a great asset to the town. And thank you all for coming tonight.
Commissioner Thomas?
I hope everybody can hear me. My voice is scratchy, but I'm grateful for all the things that are happening in Ayden. I did see one come in on Facebook, and I probably shouldn't take it. And for someone wanted some souvenirs for the town of Ayden. They had difficulty getting it, so I would like anytime our citizen wanted some souvenirs to promote Ayden, that we could find out a way that we could have things like that available. Apparently they might didn't know the right person to go to, so we could have things to promote our town, and that's what they just needed a few, so that they could promote the town, things of that nature, so they could continue to make our town grow and people to be proud of this place to live. And thankful to everyone that attended Founders Day and Martin Luther King Day celebration, your attendance and your support of the town.
You done? I concur with Commissioner Connor and everyone else on this board. We're going somewhere, people, I can tell you that. Thank the department heads for your reports and stuff. We read those, and when we deem it not necessary to call you up, it's not because we haven't read your reports, and we appreciate the time that you guys invest in getting those reports to us. It's a big deal with us, believe it or not. I did see the Super Bowl, I guess everybody here did, and Tom Brady and Snoop Dogg made some comments about us as a people and why we don't get along. I don't know whether y'all paid any attention to it or not, but they were on point. A lot of times we are taught not to like a person because somebody told you that that person don't like you and all this foolish stuff. We can do better. We are doing better in our town. And for those who don't know how to do better and to get along better, take a look at our kids. That's all you got to do. Our kids, they're pretty much untainted. They believe in truth. They're innocent. They get along good. Sometimes they have their little whatever. But overall, if we just take a page from their playbook, because the kids get along good. That's what we need to do. We're all brothers and sisters in this thing, particularly in Ayden. And that's what's going to keep us rising to the top. I'm going to make this short, and I do concur with Coach Davis. We're getting out of here a little bit earlier. For those of you who have what you call a church or attend a church that's not your church, if you can get a word in with the pastor of the leadership of that church to give us an opportunity, kind of like talk to you, your members. We need 3 members from every church. And that way, we can get some applications on file. We want it's good people that's not in the church, but I've been taught to think better people might be in the church. But if we can get 3 people from each of the churches in Ayden to get interested in our various boards, that would help us tremendously to reveal more of what Ayden looks like and more diverse opinions to make us the town that we can be. So if you know someone at a church, you tell them I said, I don't care. The mayor said he wanted at least 3 people, and I'm going to make some calls and stuff. And see what we can do to get our boards good and strong. We're kind of in the winter months here, but the summer's coming, and by the time the summer comes, I hope we have more people like Wayne Harder, you don't like to mention his name, on our boards that put their hearts and soul into stuff to make things better. Thank you again, Wayne. I know you get tired of me beating you over your head about it, but the truth is the truth. So, with that being said, that's my 2 cents worth. I thank you all for breaking your schedule coming out tonight, and have a blessed rest of your evening. Now I'm gonna need a motion and a second to adjourn. Motion by Commissioner Cindy Goff and second by Commissioner Sarah Khan. Any discussions? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Thank you.
Talking about budget, $5,000.